Hey, brother. I'm way behind on this trend. The Royal Rumble is tomorrow, so this is my prediction for the 30 women in the Royal Rumble match, along with what order I would put them in and who I would have win. Let's go. Number 1, Bayley. When it comes to Bayley winning the Royal Rumble, she's been talking about how this year will define her career, and I think that starts with the Royal Rumble. I think she goes the distance, and whether she wins or not, a great performance in the Rumble goes a long way. WWE is clearly setting up Bayley versus Io eventually. I think WrestleMania would be the perfect time to pull the trigger. I think you turn Bayley face after she gets kicked out of Damage Control in the lead up to WrestleMania. And hot take, I think you have her win the match against Io at WrestleMania. And sure, Bayley's been there longer. She's the veteran in the match going into Io versus Bayley. But I think Io's reign has been long enough, and before it gets boring, before it runs out of steam, you put her back on the chase, and that way, when Bayley is feuding with the rest of Damage Control, you can keep Io Sky relevant, you can keep Damage Control on TV, you can keep them as a dominant faction, and you can have Bayley be the underdog to a faction that she helped create. Maybe when Charlotte's back to 100%, she helps Bayley. Maybe when Sasha Banks comes back to the WWE, she can team up with Bayley to take on Damage Control. But I think that starts with a Bayley and Io Sky feud at WrestleMania, and the Royal Rumble is the perfect place to set that up. Number 2,
Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green made her WWE return at last year's Royal Rumble, setting a record in the Women's Rumble match for fastest elimination at 5 seconds. I think it's undeniable that the past year, Chelsea Green has put a lot of work into getting the women's tag team titles to a relevant position on TV, especially after the unfortunate accident that happened to her previous partner, leading to Piper Niven coming in and helping her make the titles into something that is now, as I watch Monday Night Raw, a relevant, important part of the programming. So I think as kind of like a thank you to Chelsea Green, or a reward for being able to do that with the tag team championships and to get herself to such a popular position pretty much on her own, you put her in with Bayley at number 2, and you have her go for like 25 to 30 minutes. Give her a long showing until later on when Piper Niven is in the match, spoiler alert, and just have her play like the snake heel that just constantly tries to sneak eliminations and gets foiled at every turn, goes and hides in the corner, or even have her exit the ring. It's not something we haven't seen before, but just have her survive long enough to build up a feud with Piper Niven later on in the match. Number 3, Indy Hartwell. No disrespect to Indy, but I think this position could have been given to any woman on the roster, including her tag team partner Candice LeRae. Not everyone in the Royal Rumble match has a chance of winning the Rumble, but there's 30 spots in the match, and we gotta fill them up with some people. So early on, throw in Indy Hartwell, throw in Candice LeRae, throw in somebody in the tag division to kind of feud with Chelsea Green early on in the match, and provide women to fill the ring up with. Number 4, Fallon Henley. I have to admit, I don't watch a lot of NXT, but when I do catch glimpses of it, I think there's some people that just really stand out, and they're the people that I've chosen from NXT to be in this Royal Rumble match. Fallon Henley is one of those girls. Admittedly, the only match I've seen of Fallon Henley's was her match against Tiffany Stratton on NXT New Year's Evil on January 2nd this year. The stipulation was if Tiffany lost, she would be Fallon's ranch hand, and the segment where Tiffany was her ranch hand came up on my feed, so I gave it a watch, and I found the segment actually pretty funny, and I could very much see this feud going from enemies to lovers type thing, where Tiffany comes to love Fallon. And even if that's not the case, using the Royal Rumble to build this feud for NXT is a great use of the Rumble. And I mean, I'm gonna have Tiffany in this match, especially after her exposure that she got against Becky, so I might as well throw Fallon in as well. Number 5, Shotzi. Shotzi had a big moment on social media a few weeks ago when she wrestled in her wedding dress, and she was in the amazing Women's War Game match just a few months ago, so I think she will likely be involved in the Royal Rumble. I've always thought Shotzi had a great look, and even though I've seen people on Twitter say bad things about Shotzi's in-ring abilities, I think she's good. And selfishly, I think her edgy attitude would hopefully give a good face-off or team-up with the next entrant, given that they have history going back to Shotzi's audition on Tough Enough many years ago. Number 6, Lita. Man, do I love Lita. So much so that me and Wacky Freak actually paid to see Trisha and Lita before the WrestleMania match at last year's WrestleMania, as they were going into their 6-woman tag team match against Damage Control, which was actually, I think, the last time we've seen Lita on WWE TV. On April 10th, 2023, Lita was attacked by a mystery attacker, which ended up being Trish Stratus, and that set up a whole feud with Becky Lynch and Trish, but I think it's time that Lita makes a return. Clearly, the two stories going into the Royal Rumble are Becky Lynch and Bayley, so I think this whole Royal Rumble, I want to build it around those two women. Number 7, Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile was just in a women's world title match against Rhea Ripley on the Day 1 edition of Monday Night Raw, so I see no reason why she wouldn't be in this match to try to win and challenge for it again. And on just the last edition of Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble, she's now involved in the Valhalla Maxine Dupree storyline, which I think would be a fun moment in the Royal Rumble this year, so we're throwing her in as well to fill up the ring and keep it moving. Number 8, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is one of the 4 women that have declared for the Royal Rumble match this year. To be honest, I think I would have preferred to put her a little later on this match, but I think with the Royal Rumble, you need to balance the ebbs and the flows, the highs and the lows. But I think you need Becky Lynch's music to hit to get the crowd really excited, to put her face to face with Bayley, to put her face to face with Lita, and of course have her rack up a few eliminations to try to maybe give us hope that she's gonna win it. And whether she does or not, we'll see. But I think Becky Lynch needs to be at least in the first half of the Royal Rumble. Number 9, Natalya. And number 10, Tegan Nox. Natalya and Tegan Nox will probably be in it since they lost the #1 contendership for the women's tag team titles on Raw. I mean, Natalya has done a lot of great work for the WWE in the last few years, and I'm pretty sure she's been in every single Royal Rumble. So, I mean, they're probably going to continue that streak anyway and bring her tag team partner like we have been doing for the rest of the women in the tag division, just like the next entrant. Number 11, Piper Niven. I think putting Piper Niven in the ring much later than Chelsea would allow Chelsea to hide behind Piper and have Piper help her eliminate some women until Chelsea eliminates Piper in the classic teammate tries to cheekily eliminate their partner trope, which I love. Or Chelsea will try at the very least to eliminate Piper before they both end up getting eliminated by Becky Lynch or Bayley. Either way, I think having Piper Niven join the match much later than Chelsea, no matter where Chelsea's positioned, gives Chelsea that time to survive before ultimately building towards that feud between Piper and Chelsea that is clearly leading towards. Number 12, Trish Stratus. It's time for babyface Trish to return. That's right. Bring her back. Put her in about halfway while Becky and Lita are both still in the ring. Have them do a face-off with Becky and Lita. Have Trish smile at Becky and then have them all go at it. All 3 of them. Lita and Trish have that iconic rivalry. And of course, Trish is the one that attacked Lita, putting her out of action in the first place last year. Becky and Trish had that amazing steel cage match. And of course, Becky and Lita, while they were recently tag team champions, they did have that one-on-one for the women's title in Saudi Arabia. Ultimately, though, I think Becky should be the one to eliminate both Trish and Lita, or at the very least, have her eliminate Trish. Number 13, Blair Davenport. Blair Davenport has been active on NXT TV recently, and I mean, if she's not in it, some other NXT women will be to feed eliminations to people like Bayley or Becky. Number 14, Kairi Sane. Alright, we're about halfway through and it's about to get really interesting storyline wise. So, with Kairi Sane at number 14, Bayley finally gets some story halfway through to make her feel relevant again and to give her some genuine adversity. I think it's clear that Kairi Sane is the one that's kind of pushing Bayley out of Damage Control, maybe corrupting Io, Asuka, and Dakota against Bayley ever since her return. But Dakota Kai's injured, Io Sky is champion, so the only other people in Damage Control that are able to enter this match are Kairi Sane and Asuka, who will be coming in later. But until then, have Bayley and Kairi kind of tease going blow for blow with each other until they end up teaming up and eliminating a few of the women like Blair Davenport that I just mentioned in order to kind of help Damage Control's chances of winning and taking on Rhea Ripley, quote unquote. Number 15, Tiffany Stratton. Look, I think Tiffany Stratton has got it, but I don't think it's her year to win it. She will most definitely win a Royal Rumble in her career, and if not, she will be a women's champion on the main roster. But I mean, this year, you just throw her in there to revisit the feud she had with Becky Lynch that gave her all this mainstream attention, have them revisit it in the Royal Rumble, and if for some reason Fallon Henley survives this long in the Rumble, continue their story that they're going on in NXT, have them feud with each other, have them eliminate each other, have Fallon eliminate Tiffany, or just make sure Becky gets one up on Tiffany again. Either way, let her go a few minutes, showcase what she's got in front of a larger audience, and have her be ready for her main roster call-up, hopefully the Raw after Mania. Number 16, Beth Phoenix. WWE has to use the Glamazon before she leaves to AEW with Edge. I'm just kidding. But if Beth Phoenix is willing to return, she's one of the few legends that WWE still has on a contract. The Bella Twins left, Mickie James decided to a different company, Michelle McCool might be in it, but I mean, Beth Phoenix is the Glamazon. Number 17, Maxine Dupree. Several months ago, I remember a storyline where the Alpha Academy was trying to teach Maxine Dupree how to wrestle, and I guess 6 months later, they still haven't really gotten through. It looks like Maxine Dupree won her singles match debut back in July 31st of last year against Valhalla, and as I was watching this past Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble, it seems that Valhalla and Maxine Dupree are still going on in a rivalry. So I mean, both women are probably going to be in this match just to continue that ongoing feud, I guess? Especially because on TikTok, Alpha Academy was teaching Maxine Dupree how to skin the cat, implying she's going to be in the Royal Rumble match. So I say throw her in here and have the next entrant continue their feud to get it over with. Number 18, Valhalla. I think right now the only thing Valhalla has going for her is a feud with Maxine Dupree. So I see throw her in right after Maxine Dupree gets called. So Maxine has her 90 seconds of wrestling before Valhalla goes in there, chases her out of the ring, and they end up throwing each other over the top rope. Or maybe Maxine gets the elimination on Valhalla, celebrates a little bit, and then gets tossed right out of the ring by someone like Tiffany Stratton or something. Number 19, Lash Legend. I don't know anything about Lash Legend. I don't even know if she's a wrestler anymore. She might just be a manager for Metaphor, but the Metaphor entrance is so damn cool. I want to see it at the Royal Rumble, and that's the only reason I have her in here, TBH. Number 20, Asuka. The damage control story continues. With Asuka, Kairi, and Bayley now in the Royal Rumble at the same time, ideally, they can dominate the Rumble while also planting the seeds of doubt by having Bayley be too tired or hesitant to help Asuka and Kairi try to eliminate some people, maybe trying to eliminate Becky, maybe she's too slow on the draw. Maybe Becky ends up eliminating Asuka and Bayley was too slow to try to help her. So then Kairi and Bayley square off nose to nose like CM Punk and Cody Rhodes were at the last Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble, until either Bayley finally has the courage to throw Kairi Sane out of the ring, or a third party comes in, hits them both, and then they end up just dispersing them until Kairi Sane gets eliminated shortly after. Either way, having Asuka, Kairi, and Bayley in the Rumble this late in the match provides excellent fuel for the damage control breaking up story. Number 21, Bianca Belair. I think Bianca is a great wrestler. She's probably one of the top 5 women's wrestlers that WWE has in their roster today, but I don't think she has any business winning this year's Royal Rumble. The 2 stories going into this year's Rumble for the women's matches are Becky and Rhea and Io and Bayley. I just don't think Bianca Belair fits into the women's world title picture this year. However, that's not to say that she has no place at WrestleMania. So stay with me. I have a plan for Bianca Belair to have a WrestleMania match and for it to be a pretty good one, I think. Number 22, Victoria. You know, I had the pleasure of meeting Victoria 2 years ago at WrestleMania 38 in Texas, just kind of by accident. She was standing next to Mickie James, and I was waiting for Mickey's line to die, so I decided to talk to Victoria, and ended up finding that she was very nice and charming, so I bought a picture and an autograph from her. Of course, this was the year after she made her WWE return at the Royal Rumble match during COVID-19. What a shame for her not to be able to have that moment in front of fans. So I think this year, give her that moment in front of fans, especially because Becky and Trish hit the Widowmaker during their steel cage match just a few months ago. So she's already on our minds. Let her come in, let her hit a Widowmaker or two. She doesn't even have to get any eliminations, but once she has that moment in front of fans, then you can induct her in the Hall of Fame this year where she rightfully belongs. End of rant. Number 23, Naomi. I think we all know it's a foregone conclusion that Naomi is coming back to the WWE. She finished up her time with TNA, quote unquote, just a few days ago. And while Sasha Banks might return, I unfortunately don't think Sasha will sign with WWE. I saw on Twitter that they were reporting that talks with WWE and Sasha Banks have ended. But I mean, we heard that with CM Punk and he still showed up, so who knows? Either way, I think Sasha's return would overshadow Naomi's return. So I would wait and have Sasha Banks return, if she is going to return, at the Elimination Chamber in Australia or the Raw after WrestleMania. Let Naomi return at the Royal Rumble and let her have her moment. I don't think anybody expects Naomi to win this year's Royal Rumble, even if she does return. So I think putting her in the early 20s would allow her to have some time to perform before ultimately getting eliminated by somebody like Nia Jax or something. Number 24, Zelina Vega. No shade, but I'm not really a fan of Zelina Vega, but I do think she's going to be in this match. I mean, she had that big moment in Puerto Rico where they wanted us to think she was going to beat Rhea Ripley. Put her in here with the rest of the NXT fodder that's going to be fed to Nia Jax, and let's move it along. Number 25, Gigi Dolan. Number 26, Roxanne Perez. Number 27, Nikita Lyons. Number 28, Lola Vice. Gigi Dolan, Nikita Lyons, and Lola Vice are 3 women that really caught my attention while I was watching NXT in the past few weeks. Although number 26, Roxanne Perez, I genuinely think she's going to be a big superstar in the future. I would have personally loved to see AJ Lee return at this year's Royal Rumble after having CM Punk's big return, but I think you have to save that moment for when both her daughters, Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, are in the match together, because you never know if we're ever going to have that face-off between either 2 of them or all 3 of them. So I would just save it for next year when Cora Jade is at 100%. It's so unfortunate that Cora Jade got injured like 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble. And I mean, there's no guarantee that AJ Lee would even like to return. But I think if you have both Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade in the match, they get to revisit their feud and AJ Lee gets to pass them the torch, so to speak. I feel like AJ Lee would be down for that. But TBH, if I hear Let's Light It Up on Saturday, I'm going to freak out. And I mean, if she does show up, Roxanne has to be there to have that moment with AJ Lee. I feel it would really suck if they couldn't wait till Cora Jade was also in the match as well. But I mean, if it's going to happen this year, it's got to happen with Roxanne. Number 29, Nia Jax. I think putting Nia Jax super late is such a good idea because everybody hates her, and having her at number 29 put on a dominant performance will scare people into thinking she might actually win this year's Royal Rumble. As soon as she enters the ring, have her eliminate all the NXT girls I just mentioned immediately. Have her be the one to eliminate Victoria and Naomi. If AJ Lee does return, I think Nia being the one to take her out would give her so much heat. She would be hated and booed out of that arena. And then while it's just down to a few women left in the ring where Nia Jax clearly will not be able to be overpowered by the remaining few, have her go after Becky, have her pick up Becky and almost eliminate Becky Lynch until the number 30 song hits. And in the number 30 spot, Jade Cargill. Now I'm thinking the same thing a lot of you probably thinking. Where the hell has Jade Cargill been since she signed with the WWE? And by all accounts, she has been putting in her time at the Performance Center trying to unlearn the AEW style and learning the WWE style. But I mean, they made this big deal about which brand she was going to sign to months ago, and crickets since then. Nothing on WWE TV. Only things we've been hearing from Twitter news sources or just clips that they've been releasing of her training with Natalia. But nothing. So maybe she isn't ready just yet to be in a big program. But having her make her debut at number 30 would be a great surprise. It would be a big deal, instantly make her a star, and would allow her to hide any shortcomings in the ring by being surrounded by so many vets. You can also use this Royal Rumble to build feuds with Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, Bayley, Bianca Belair, setting up a match with any of these women at WrestleMania. Ideally, Bianca Belair. However, Bianca did mention wanting to team up with Jade Cargill first, and I agree that starting with a tag team would lead to a killer career-defining feud for both women. But now it's time to move on to who I would pick to be the final 4 competitors in this Royal Rumble match. Having Nia Jax eliminate Becky Lynch would make sense, but I prefer having the last few women in the Rumble team up to eliminate Nia Jax together. They're all pretty much powerful women, and at the very least they're all main eventers, which ups their overall in WWE 2K24. So, with Nia Jax out of the picture, after having eliminated the majority of the field that would still be in, I would use the Final 4 in the Women's Rumble to create this sort of old generation versus new generation face-off that the men had in the 2018 Royal Rumble. Becky Lynch and Bayley have a horsewoman kinship and represent the quote past, while Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill represent the future, especially Jade Cargill. You can plant the seeds for the horsewoman reunion type team early on by having Becky and Bayley sort of team up and eliminate people early on, or perhaps have Becky start eliminating somebody and then Bayley comes in to finish it off and help her, and they kind of stare each other down but don't throw blows as a sign of respect, and move on to other people in the match. I kind of teased that with my situation earlier where Becky Lynch is trying to eliminate Asuka and Bayley doesn't actually help Asuka against Becky, allowing Becky to throw out one of the toughest competitors in the match. Now this is the moment where you would build Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Having both Jade and Bianca both represent the sort of future of the WWE and working together at the Final 4 of this Royal Rumble match will build the foundation for their tag team that I would book to win the tag titles at WrestleMania. At the time of making this video, Damage Control has a tag team title match on SmackDown before the Royal Rumble. Regardless, on the way to WrestleMania, you have Kairi Sane and Asuka, the Kabuki Warriors, the Damage Control, win the tag team titles and set up this feud for Bianca and Jade to chase after the tag team titles and have that moment at WrestleMania. I think Damage Control, Jade, and Bianca, those are 4 stars, and what a way to bring eyes to the women's tag team division once again. So I would have Becky Lynch and Bayley eliminate Jade Cargill first. Then they work together to eliminate Bianca, and Becky and Bayley have a face-off to see who is going to win. Becky has already won a Royal Rumble match, but Bayley, up to this point in her career, has not been able to do it. You could play up the fact that Bayley has been in here since the very beginning, but at this point, probably over an hour. This is why I would probably have Becky come in a little later, but still within the first half, because how I have it currently, these women have been in here pretty much the entire time. But Bayley being at number 1 would allow her to play up that wear and tear, that lack of endurance, while Becky Lynch, she knows what it takes. She's been there before. She gets her energy back because she needs this win to prove that she's better than Rhea Ripley. So they face off, they circle around the ring, they get that moment with each other one-on-one. The 2 of the 4 horsewomen, Charlotte being injured and Sasha being out of the company, the only 2 horsewomen able to go to WrestleMania, Becky Lynch and Bayley. And they go at it. They throw blows. Yay, boo, yay, boo. Until Becky tries to go for the Bexploder and Bayley finally hits the Bayley to belly again, teasing a face turn, but maybe it's just a sign of desperation or something. She could play it off as that. Bayley picks up Becky Lynch and throws her over the top rope, and of course the emotions are high. I think I gave this up at the very beginning, but I would have Bayley win full stop. And I would use Damage Control's pursuit of Rhea Ripley as kind of a red herring for Bayley actually not being sure of what she wants to do. You can have her kind of say out loud that she's going to be picking Rhea Ripley and that Damage Control will hold all the gold after Bayley beats her, but have her stare at Io's title just a little bit longer. Have her grab the title from the ref and hand it to Io Sky when she defends it at Elimination Chamber. Have her subtly build to this feud with Io Sky until Kairi Sane finally convinces Damage Control to turn on Bayley. And at that point, Bayley can outright say she's not picking Rhea Ripley, she's picking Io Sky at WrestleMania. And we finally get Io versus Bayley. And like I said, I would put Bayley over in this match. But I definitely believe that having Bayley as champion at WrestleMania would set up a long-lasting feud with Damage Control that, as I mentioned before, when Charlotte comes back from injury, she's going to be loved by the fans. They're going to cheer for her because that's a crazy recovery to come from, especially if she does it as quickly as people are saying she's going to do. So you can have Bayley and Charlotte going up against Asuka, Kairi, and Io until Becky Lynch joins the Horsewomen or Sasha Banks comes back. And if they could get Sasha Banks to come back before next year's WrestleMania, using the Bayley and Damage Control feud could easily set up a 4-horsewoman team against Damage Control at the Survivor Series next year and finally pull the trigger on the 4-horsewoman main eventing WrestleMania in a Fatal 4-Way. I think this is all perfectly set up with Bayley's Royal Rumble win. And I honestly don't even know if they're going to make her win. I had higher hopes before Monday Night Raw when Bayley just came out to be leg dropped by Nia Jax and didn't really do anything else. They're treating her like a jobber. I think it's disrespectful. I love Bayley. She could be as big as Becky Lynch, and Bayley will have benefited from not only winning the Royal Rumble, winning her first ever singles match at WrestleMania, and above all else, give us that 4-horsewoman Fatal 4-Way. That's a tongue twister. I think that's money. So that's it. So if you enjoyed, give it a like, subscribe. Otherwise, you support Hulk Hogan entering in at number 30 in the Men's Rumble and winning it all, brother.
You never know. I might have one left in me.